All right, so here we are. Good morning, everybody. My name is Keith Smith. I work with Sault Traditional Medicine. I've been here about, going on 4 years, I think. So today we're gonna make some Kinnickkinic, and of course some of the workers here provided a couple of the ingredients, and then our department provided some others that we'll talk about. And then after that, we're going to talk about 4 sacred medicines. We're going to talk about why tobacco is important, and basically we're going to talk about I'll tell you the story of our first 4 medicines. So with that, we'll start to move forward here. Where's the little thingy at? Okay, so like I said, my name's Keith. I'm from Red Lake, Minnesota, and actually the other traditional worker, or we call ourselves helpers. In the clinic sense, they call us traditional practitioners, but in that sense, we help the people. We've committed to that. So Harlan, downwind, our moms are sisters, so we're first cousins, I guess, but really what that is to us and our traditional thoughts of our family, we're brothers because our moms are sisters. So that's how we kind of look at each other. He's been kind of my mentor along with many others through my life. I've been married to Valerie for 29 years, and we have 3 boys. Derek, who's 29, he's a car salesman. He's pretty good at it. He does really well for himself. He lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Well enough to drive a Lincoln and have his own place, and no kids. Yes, that's good. I don't want to be grandpa yet. So I got Devin. He's 25. He actually goes to school here. My wife and I decided to move here. Devin came along because he was home with us at the time, because he took care of he helped my wife take care of her mom, my mother-in-law, who was sick with cancer. She actually died 2 years ago this week. And so we're doing good, moving on there. But yeah, Devin's a student here. He works at Applebee's. He's a good guy too. And then our youngest son, Nick, he lives in Madison, Wisconsin, where he works and goes to school. And that's good. So I'm currently employed with the Sault Ste. Marie Chippewa tribe in traditional medicine, where I get to help a lot of people, young and old. I get to instill our teachings back into our people, which I really like to do. And most of all, even the basic things like we're going to learn today about tobacco, what it means to us, why we use it, why it's important. Before I started working for the Sioux tribe, I was a lead CCTV technician for a company where I programmed, designed, and installed high-end digital surveillance systems for bars, restaurants, offices, and quite a bit in Indian gaming industry, where they can have upwards of 3,500 cameras, and I would program and design it and all that stuff, and I'd train our techs how to properly take care of it. And so I got a lot of experience in that field as well. I'm a huge Green Bay Packer fan. I also enjoy wood and stone carving. Yeah. So, go for Green Bay. They're retiring Brett Favre's number this summer, so I'm going to be there. I also enjoy wood and stone carving. I like being with family. I like the outdoors, but I do many things. I'll do anything, really. Work on cars, you name it. There's not a lot I haven't done just to kind of keep myself busy, I guess, and I think that's important. So today, let's talk about Kinnickkinic and the ingredients, and this is what we're going to talk about, the ingredients and making of the traditional mix, you can say, of our traditional offering tobacco, and it was also smoked. We're going to talk about the proper use of tobacco, and as well as the first 4 medicines. So let's start with Kinnickkinic before we get started with actually making it here. So the word Kinnickkinic loosely translates to which is mixed, like something, you look at something. To remember that our language is very descriptive. It's more visual than it is, you can say this word means this, and actually it's describing something, see? So when you look at something like this, when you see all these elements mixed together, that's really what it means, something that's kind of mixed up, Maybe your mom's cooking sometimes. You want to just mix it up and get it down or something, So I know it was like that with my mom. But it describes a mixture of natural elements or plants, okay? The natural plant mixtures in Kinnickkinic, they might vary from area to area. Okay, here I think we're gonna have 7 different kinds of things in there. But it did vary, but most importantly, it started with red willow. Red willow, some areas use the whole bark, some areas use just the inner bark, the green bark, and some use both, so being there still is snow on the ground, there's any ever heard of, there's stories we have and we get told to us with Wayne Abuju. Anybody know who that is? He teaches us lessons in life, and there's lots of stories about him anyways. But the story with red willow is that when he was, so Wayne Abuju, what he is, he was kind of like, I guess you can say, half human and half spirit. He liked to play tricks, he liked to tease people, but most importantly, he taught us lessons. And so when we get to red willow, why that was given, why the Creator showed Wayne Abuju red willow was because when he created us as human beings, he knew that we would no longer be able to communicate with the Creator directly. We needed something to do that with. And so the Creator gave that red willow to Wayne Abuju to give it to the Anishinaabe people, so we had something that would help relay our thoughts, our prayers, what we needed help with, what we wanted to tell the Creator. That was our original, I guess you can say, our tobacco, was the red willow. And so Wayne Abuju did give it to us as our people because, as you'll learn here later on, how important our tobacco is to us and why. So we know that red willow was absolutely the first element we had for our traditional tobacco. And along the way, there's also an actual tobacco plant now a lot of people are growing, and they had a tobacco we call a sama, kind of a little project where the youth were growing it last year. And I know in different areas, like my wife's family, we have 3 of her uncles that grow it, and they're the only ones that do it until they're ready to pass it on to someone else. So it's definitely taking those responsibilities upon yourself, because back when I first came to Wisconsin Rapids, where we lived for quite a while there, raising our family, it was really I think there's only like 2 older guys planting tobacco, the traditional tobacco, around our area, and they were Ho-Chunk people, formerly Wisconsin Winnebago. And as these guys seen this, then they made a commitment, and they make a commitment to live a better life. And what that means is living a drug and alcohol-free life. So everything that they do with this plant, planting it and growing it, and harvesting it and giving it to the people, just like we do in traditional medicine, most importantly, we live a drug and alcohol-free life, and that's what we promote as well. We want our people to live that way because there's so many benefits from abstinence of not having alcohol and or drugs, around your life. There's so many good things, no matter where you come from. So, so we really have this other natural plant too that we call a sayama over by where my wife's from. They call it nin sayama. But what a sayama actually means is this action of you're putting something down. See, so it doesn't really mean tobacco. It describes an action. So that's when I talk about our language, there's action words, right? Like a sayama. And so if I would say nin sayama, that's like saying my tobacco. I'm doing this. I'm gonna put my tobacco down. So it's like that. So we also have that now too, and I believe we're gonna add some of that natural tobacco plant, so to speak, to the mix today. And Some families, when it comes to Kinnickkinic, have a very, very highly protected and guarded recipe. And I know that one of my teachers on my path of learning and stuff in Red Lake, his name was Joe Barrett, and I think he added one natural element, I think, for like 14 years. So he had 14 different natural parts of the forest and wherever he cut wood for a living. He did all that, so he's always in the woods. And so I know he had 14 elements, but at the same time, when you see how some people might make Kinnickkinic and how Joe B made Kinnickkinic, the way it tasted, I guess, you knew it was Joe B's Kinnickkinic. There was nothing else like it. It had a good taste. It was good for offering and doing our offerings. And it's something he's really proud of. He's gone now. He just died about a year or two ago. But he was really proud of that mix, because it was his. He put so much time into starting with the first 7, and then for 14 years, he added one medicine year, so he had 21 different things, really, now that I think about it. But we would trade with him, whatever. We'd always do a trade if he had, hey, let me get some of your mix, and we'd have something to trade with him. So we never just take, we always have something to barter with. Maybe something, if we know someone really well, we'll get something that they liked, and so that's how we kind of barter for things like that in a traditional sense. So we get it in good thoughts and everything, and even if it's a couple bucks for gas and a gift, that we'd always do stuff like that. The thing I wanted to really kind of talk about too is, contrary to what some believe and what is written as well, Kinnickkinic does not contain anything that is supposed to cause a psychological effect during or after smoking. So it's not like smoking marijuana or anything. It never was, and it never will be. And I know there's lots of writings out about that, and you'll see that a lot, that they just assume that because the natives were smoking their pipes, even if it was a regular corncob pipe all the time, that they were getting high. Without asking us what we're doing. And what they're doing is they're offering every time we're doing some type of offering with tobacco, even if it's smoking once or twice a day, even with a natural mix like Kinnickkinic, we're thinking about something. Who knows? Maybe we have a sick relative. Maybe we need some help ourselves, some guidance, or maybe there's a task in front of us we need to do, and we're putting some thought into that, how we're going to go about that task properly. So it was just assumed, at least in my opinion, that that's what the native people were doing when they're always smoking their pipes or doing things with their tobacco. And I want to stress that it's not true at all. There's nothing in Kinnickkinic that is supposed to create some kind of mind-altering effect, So I wanted to make that clear. And like I said, Kinnickkinic is not always smoked. It is used traditionally for prayers and offerings to the spirits. It was used too, and even today, as we work in a traditional clinic, the traditional clinic is something that the Sioux tribe supports, and they have it there for pretty much anyone. They're tribal members, and all people need to bring in is tobacco. You don't need to see a insurance card. We don't need to see anything. They bring their tobacco, and we help them with natural medicines, working with Western medicine to keep a good balance. And this is what the opportunity that we have with the Sioux Tribal Traditional Clinic here, is the ability to work well with Western medicine. So all people bring is tobacco. And in just this past week, I worked at the Escanaba. I worked a lot of the outside clinics as well. I worked in Escanaba on Tuesday, and with my good friend and coworker Tony there, and out of all the people we've seen on our little block of appointments, over half of them bought Kinnickkinic, and that's nice, because I've quit smoking. I wasn't much of a big smoker, but now when people just bring in regular commercial tobacco, I always mix a little Kinnickkinic with just take a little bit of that tobacco, because I'm already like 7 months in, and I don't want to go back. And and it's hard. I can tell you, it's hard to quit smoking, even though I wasn't much of a smoker. But we still have those times where we cave in, a little bit. So Kinnickkinic, any kind of tobacco is used when you're going to ask somebody for something, not just help from in a traditional sense, but even help with some advice. It's not wrong to offer tobacco to your older relatives to even say, can you tell me about our family? Where do we come from? What's our clan? What can you tell me? And tell me as much as you can, then tell me where I need to go to find out more, because you need to know what your family history is the best that you can. So I can go back in my family history, okay? So I know my great-great-grandfather came from White Earth, Minnesota, a Anaquid Smith. And then his son was Patrick Smith, and Patrick Baptiste Smith, which was my great-grandfather, who had then Patrick Smith, who was my grandfather, and then who had my dad. It's like that. So then a lot of this is readily available no matter where you come from. Our tribal offices and enrollment departments have made, I believe, great strides in having these family trees and this family history for us available. And so this way we can go back and we really see who we're related to, because that was an important thing to know who. Nowadays, I guess your cousins were first, second, third cousins, but in a traditional sense, like I was talking before, especially in the Anishinaabe ways, is that our moms and dads, brothers and sisters, were really considered our kind of extra mom and dads, and all of their kids were considered our brothers and sisters. There was no first cousin. There was none. When we treated each other as such, and they helped mold us into the people that we are. So when we talk about this traditional mix, know that there, as you'll learn today what the first, the basic elements are, the ingredients are, and know that you can use that. It doesn't mean I'm presenting here. When I say in traditional medicine we give teachings, that's what I'm giving here today. I'm giving something to you that you can have and you can think about. Maybe someday when you're ready, you can look it up. The internet has lots of things nowadays. Or you can come to traditional medicine and say, I want to make some Kinnickkinic. Where do I start? And we'll do the best we can to show you, okay, get some red willow, and then you got to pick some of this, and we'll show you everything. Best that we can, and bring you along, and you'll go harvest everything yourself. You dry it, then you can say, wow, I made this. And, if you figure you even get 2 cups of everything, and you have 7 ingredients, by the time you mix everything together, you have about 14 cups of tobacco, and you can share that with your relatives. And it feels good. It's a really good feeling. So, I like how we mixed it up right there. So that's why I put that there, because we're going to make Kinnickkinic. Today, we have our ingredients, and they're going to be, of course, red willow. Whoops. Okay, red willow we have. And we got all the other stuff here, too. Oh, wow. So, we got red willow. We have sage. And, of course, I got all mine in bags here. Red willow bark. Inner, outer, as long as you're using red willow, whatever your teachings are. Like I said, when you look at a red willow stick, there's a red outer bark, and then inside bark is green. And some will use both of those. Some will just lightly scrape off all the red bark and use the inner green, But there's really, like I said, there's no right or wrong way, but it is, the thing behind it is taking the time to learn and knowing what you need to do to take that bark off. Sage, not so plentiful around here. I hear it grows somewhere around Kinchlow, Kinross. So for sage, I actually bought 2 different kinds. I kind of bought, you know, a lot of people see this kind. This is stuff that came to me. Somebody from Munising picked this for us and gave it to our department. And we have some people over in Munising that do really well in helping us out. That they get help from our program, and the way they want to give back is they know a little bit about medicines. They know what different medicines they use look like, and if we tell them what we need, they're on it, and that's how they give back. So there's always that kind of reciprocity within our traditional teachings, that somehow we're going to give back. We're going to somehow pay for that the best way that we can. And in some ways, like with some people like I'm talking about in Munising, that we help out a nutritional clinic, if we tell them we need yarrow and we need a lot of it, they'll come with a lot of it, like a garbage bag full sometimes. We told them we're short on sage, and one of them ran home. Tony and I were working there that day. We're running short on sage, which we typically go and pick in Minnesota because there's a lot of it there. And they one of them ran home and brought us a nice big grocery bag full of it. And what I also got is I got some of it's that kind of harder leaf. They call it that prairie sage. You can get it like in the health food stores where they have oils and all that, but it's kind of a real hard leafy with a thick stem. And I usually just crush that up. It has a little bit different scent, a little stronger scent, a little bit different than what our other sage is, you know, how it grows naturally. And then here, that's just sage. So then the other part we're adding here is sweetgrass. And of course, a lot of you may have seen sweetgrass, and there'll be pictures later of how it actually looks. I took the time the other day to grind it up so it mixes nice. And we also have bearberry. It's all in here. We can crush it up a little bit. So you want to just do your best to kind of make everything about the same size, but not necessarily, because it'll all mix really well. Bearberry grows along the lake shores. This is some of the stuff I picked here last fall. And bearberry's always been one of the basic ingredients that we've had. And then sometimes we'll do wintergreen. And wintergreen is something we didn't have. And so we're going to use peppermint leaf, which kind of gives it a nice little flavor there. And then over here, let me grab the other ones here. Oh yeah. So we're going to mix everything up in this big bin here, right at the table here. Okay. So we have, of course, cedar, which everybody can kind of help us out. We're going to have this kind of taken apart in smaller pieces, just kind of, you know, take these and I'll put in here. We got lots of help here, which is good. We like help. Plus you get to apply a little bit. And then let's see, the ladies here got some red willow here. You can see it's all nice and peeled off, and it's dried nice, and we can usually just crush that up, kind of separate it a little bit. Okay. And finally, when I talk about the traditional tobacco, these are the seed pods here. And inside these little pods is like a little bitty seed. And that one little seed will grow a pretty nice sized plant depending on the weather that summer. I think the largest, my wife's uncle, I should say, his name's Al. His last name is Snowball, believe it or not. But Al Snowball, the highest his ever got is probably about 3.5, 4 foot. They don't get real tall, but they do create a lot of leaves, which we have in here. And you can see that. And up this way, you'll hear some people might refer to this as green tobacco. And you can see that it's very green. Okay. So as we get to this point of mixing these together, and have one thing I need to talk about first. When it comes to medicines, harvesting and preparing like we have here. We need to, and not to out anyone, and I don't want everybody to think that it's a bad thing. But we know that as our young ladies get older, they have what they call their moon time, their time of the month there. And it's a very special time to us traditionally. But what we believe in our traditional ways is that it's also a very strong time for our ladies. And so you shouldn't be doing any of this during that time for the young ladies. And of course, if you want more info on that, because I'm just going to talk about it a little bit, because that's actually teachings that the ladies should be given, and because they know how to talk about it better, obviously. So, and that's what I want to say today is we do need the help here to get everything mixed up in here and mixed together, and everybody has a bag to take some home with you and use for your offerings that we'll talk about after this process is done. But most certainly, if you're on your moon time, don't be embarrassed. It's okay. I just need to. We know and we believe that our women are so spiritually strong during this time that by handling these kind of medicines and these ingredients that we have, I guess that the healing properties that they have and the properties that they have to allow us to use them as a mixture or even individually for medicine, it kind of deaden that. You take it right out of there, So that's why I just need to talk about that a little bit. Not, like I said, not to out anyone, not to embarrass anyone, but never be embarrassed about it, because for you young ladies, because we know it's a part of life. It's really a good thing, that you have, that this goes on in your life. Because as men, we don't have it. We're just full of junk, So that's why we have the sweat lodge. At least that's how it was put to me one time, So we have the sweat lodge for us men initially because it helps us with our cleansing process. And over time, the sweat lodge migrated over, and the women have it too now, and that's cool. So let's get some help up here, and we'll start mixing this stuff up. Bearberry. Excuse me there, folks. Oh, that's sage. Hey, you want to hand me those bags over there, the white ones? There you go. I'm going to come back and check your work now, so don't let me down. Hey, where's the other bowl? Oh, man. Yeah. All right, let's get the next another group up here. You guys can have a seat. All right, table here. Come on up by the cedar.
Put it in the bowl. Like the whole bag?
I think they want us to just pull it up.
So crazy. I had to do this for my baby fast.
Next, I'm adding the sweetgrass, okay? Dump that right in. Then we'll add some of this peppermint leaf here. I don't know if I want to add all of that, but there. Do a little bit just because it smells good. And finally, we got our red willow here. And I want to say thank you to the ladies that helped harvest this. And you can see here they left a little bit here, and they're scraping off. So this is, if you use the whole bark, it'll look like this, okay, with the red, and you got the innards still in there. And then if you scrape off the red, and what you have is this. And that's just all the inner bark. So we'll kind of get that all mixed up in there. I'm going to use all this. So know that some of the, as we mix this together, especially like the cedar and the sage, because it's like our sage is kind of softer. I don't know, it's probably because of the soil or whatever, but, and you'll see that as you get something to put in your own bag, over time it'll dry even more, so you'll be able to kind of break it down a little bit, because after a while, I mean, when you make a lot of it and you're using your tobacco in a proper way, you'll see that it'll almost just come to powder, you know, and it'll be just like powder, but it's still all there. But at the same time, even in a powdered form, you will see that, and most times you'll be able to still kind of differentiate which element is which. So, and we'll use a little bit of this here just because they got it done, and we'll put it all in there. And lastly, we have our traditional grown tobacco here, and this is nice and dry. I've always added this traditional tobacco to my Kinnickkinic mix, and you can tell when that dries, it gets nice and dry, and it just kind of gives you that extra little bit. Otherwise, before I knew we had this, we only had, I think, 6. So with this, we have 7, which is good, because of course we have 7 grandfather teachings we should be living by, you know. So we use all of that too. So now, what I need is a couple nice young ladies to come up on each side of this table and mix this all together for us. Do I have any volunteers? You come up, and you can come up. So we'll go this way, okay? And, oh, bearberry. I almost forgot, hold on. Oh, there's actual berry in there, we'll crush that up. And there's the bearberry. Okay, let's stand over here. We'll have one go first and right on through the line here. So stand behind her, she'll go first, you go next, you go after that. So everybody can watch this all kind of blend together here. Just start mixing them.
When do you want me to move on to the next person or the next?
I'll tell you when, yeah. So these young ladies will mix up this Kinnickkinic for us. And the reason I want to do it that way, as we know, is that what our ladies have is they have a gift for giving life. Carry that little one, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so we know that when, especially our younger ladies this age, they put good things in there, you know. They get even more life, I guess, in that sense. So anybody else need a copy of the PowerPoint? They're right up here. Come get them. Okay, let's get the next young lady to finish us up. Now, we talked about the word Kinnickkinic, like, and what it's describing is that mixture, right? So as you look into this, I'm asking one of my buddy from Hessel at. It's right there. He's going to take this bin around to each table. You go around eating, everybody looking there. And when you think Kinnickkinic, this is what you're going to picture in your mind from now on. This is exactly what it means. So take the bin. You want to go around and show everybody what Kinnickkinic means. It means a mix. And as he's doing that, I'm going to start my next part. The history of tobacco used by Native people, used by Anishinaabe. Okay? So within the history of tobacco, you need to know that Native people from the tip of Alaska all the way down to the bottom of South America use tobacco on a daily basis, use tobacco in their ceremonies. It's absolutely something as indigenous people that we've always had. You know, even though now we have the introduction of Western tobacco, to us, you know, when traditional medicine, tobacco is tobacco, we'll still accept that tobacco, okay? And then, so it's very important to, when people come to me and say, how do I offer my tobacco? I instruct them how to offer that tobacco, okay? And I'll go through this real quick with them because even, a lot of times our appointments are in half-hour increments. And I'll give them the basic teachings, and then as they come back, you know, you get more. And that's how it works for learning traditional things, is you need to make the time. Okay, my wife and I made time for me to go to the proper ceremonies, to help my teachers when they were helping people, so I can watch and learn. Aside from our jobs, aside from all of that, you know, we had to know that, you know, if I had 120 hours of vacation each year, probably half of that was going to ceremony, spending time with my teachers. I committed to do that, you know, so it's used by us as Anishinaabe for everything, like we talked a little bit before, you know, when we need something from somebody, we need some help. Well, maybe you know somebody that does beadwork and you're not a good, you want to learn that. Right? Even if it's just earrings, whatever it might be, you go to that person and say, can you teach me how to bead? Make some earrings, make some medallions, all that stuff, and they'll teach you. And not in a, like here, we try to do everything as gently as we could, you know, and make this Kinnickkinic. And it's like that. We'll gently teach, progressively teach, and as you master one style of beadwork, they'll move on and they'll teach you the next area that you want to learn. Tobacco offering for us Anishinaabe people is very, very important. What it does is it tells, when we're offering tobacco, we're asking, basically praying to the Great Spirit, the Creator, and we're telling them what we need here. But not only the Creator gets that message, our relatives that are over there, we know in our stories tell us that they need to know what we need here too. So we're thinking about them. And when we get down to offering that tobacco, and some say there's no right or wrong way. There's different stories about it everywhere. What the proper way is. For me, I've always been told as long as it's a nice clean area. And if you can do it by a tree, that's fine. But some more specifically might say on the east side of that tree, because that's where life starts, as the young lady was talking about that here a little bit ago. And so we're always offering, and when you're getting even Kinnickkinic, even tobacco, you just need a little bit. A little bit goes a long ways. And you're thinking with that tobacco. I'm a member of the Big Drum Society through my wife's family, and it's a very special drum we use 4 times a year in a ceremony process, and we offer tobacco there, you know. But at the same time, there's ways, there's a process you have to know as you get into that society of how things are properly done within that society. Who gets tobacco first, who gets it second, and who gets it third. You offer tobacco 3 times before each time that our ceremonies are going on. But offering tobacco, as I was saying, might vary in your teachings. So you take those teachings and maybe you might ask somebody else, how do you offer tobacco? And they might have a little bit different story. And that's okay, because what you're doing is you're expanding your knowledge of how to properly offer tobacco, or maybe how this person feels about offering tobacco and how to do it. And so as maybe you go around, you ask 7 different people over a certain period of time how to offer tobacco, and everyone's just a little bit different. You can take something out of all those 7 ways of offering and make it your own. That's really what it's all about. taking these teachings and making them, when it comes to, like I talked a little bit before about sweat lodges, okay? I was within, I guess, my traditional walk, learning things for 8 years before my teacher said, you're ready to start running the sweat lodge and you got to do some things. And so that's what they told me. Think of all the sweat lodges you've been doing, those guys that ran them, and pick out some things that you really liked, other than just the basic way of running. Make it your own. Same way with offering tobacco, okay? Offering tobacco can be offered, like I said, by tree, any clean area. It can be offered in the water, any body of water, lake, river, stream. But really, there's really no wrong way to do it. One of our older leaders within the Big Drum would get up and talk in Potawatomi about the language of making us understand in the language why tobacco offerings were important, but how easy it was. And he'd tell it all in Potawatomi, then he would ask for permission there in our ceremonies to speak English, and he'd talk to all the young people, and he would say, need to offer your tobacco, even if you don't say anything. He said, our tobacco offerings, they're like a sponge, okay? And everything we're thinking about is in there. Thinking about family, thinking about, even something as simple as I got this big test coming up and I need to just have my thoughts right, whatever. And you ask, and then you offer your tobacco, nice and gently, and you'll see that help will come, because of course, no matter where you come from, what religion you follow, we all know prayer is important, right? So, there's no right or wrong way to offer tobacco, but to know that even just thinking with your tobacco at first, until you get used to it, I guess, in a way, and then you can maybe just talk with your tobacco too, the best that you can. Ask for those good things, guidance, health for you and your family, things like that. And when people come to me that want to learn this process, I tell them maybe start 2 days a month and add a day. And then next month, start with 3 days. Next month, go with 4 days. Maybe you might want to stay there 4 days out of the week and then add a day. And then pretty soon we got them offering tobacco every day like we should be. I do it every day. Every day. I never miss because it only takes 5-10 minutes at the most. Where to offer tobacco, like we said, I can give you what I know, what we talked about. By a tree, east side of a tree, any place that's clean. We offer tobacco when before we pick any of these medicines, tobacco was offered first. Then we took what we needed only. We never take more than we need. So anything that you do in life, really, especially when it comes to picking medicines, is that tobacco offering has to be there. We got to give something back for what we're going to take. And that's how the kind of cycle and the circle keeps moving forward. When to offering tobacco, okay? Primarily, we do it in the morning time. Because of work and school and busy lives, some people opt to do it, in the late afternoon, early evening, because of work, because of just busy life. But I see a lot of people take that more evening time because they take that 10 to 15 minutes for themselves, which is also another important thing you should get used to, is make sure you take time for yourself to do your prayers, think about things, kind of stay balanced. And so I know many, many people that kind of where they live, they have a nice little tree in an area set up back there. That's there. They go there maybe 3 or 4 times a week. They got kind of all set up, and they sit there and they pray 10, 15 minutes just to get it done and kind of ask for that little help they might need, pray for some relatives, whatever it might be. But it does a lot for us. It does a lot. And if you start to do it, you'll see what I mean. So anytime during the day, really, anytime when something's going on. If I get a call, even a text, hey, whatever, I caught a text here last month Found out my sister, she's my only sister. I have an older brother and a younger brother, and our youngest one in my family is my sister. I found out she was in the hospital. She'd been there for 2 days. I didn't know anything about it. But I was at work when I found out, so I went out and offered my tobacco because I wanted to send her some help. I wanted to send her some prayers, you know. Then later that evening, I called her, found out what was going on. She's better now, you know. And so, primarily during the daytime. And of course, I can talk a little bit about, is it proper to offer tobacco at night? In the beginning, no. Do your best not to offer tobacco in the nighttime unless you absolutely have to. Because within our traditional teachings, what they tell us is actually the nighttime here is actually the daytime for the spirits. So see, during that time, they're going to look for our tobacco so they can know what we need. They need to know that. They'll go look for our tobacco around and they'll find it and they'll get it. And they'll send that help that we're asking for. And, but, you know, and sometimes, of course, where you're from, talk to your elders, your local traditional people, and ask them, okay? Get some guidance from them. Whether they say for your area that it's okay, I'm good with that. I don't. So there's our tobacco. Got commercial tobacco there. Now, real quickly here, we're going to go through. One of our stories, too, tells us that the Anishinaabe were giving our first 4 medicines, okay? And what this story tells us is that along with tobacco, cedar, sage, and sweetgrass were the first medicines given to the Anishinaabe people because they're cleaners. They cleanse us in a lot of different ways, whether it's smudging, whether it's a mixture in our Kinnickkinic, and we'll talk about each one here and how you can use those. Sweetgrass, all of that, you know. And also what I've learned along the way is that it's been said too that these 4 medicines sit in the 4 directions: tobacco in the east, sweetgrass in the south, sage in the west, and cedar in the north. And of course, area to area, that might change a little bit, you know, just like the colors of the medicine wheel, the black, white, red, yellow, that changes from what I think, you know, if I think yellow's for east, somebody else might use red or black or white. That's just how the teachings go. I can't question them and say they're wrong. I only know what I know, you know, and I just say, cool, that's good. I can respect how you believe that. So we always respect other people's teachings. So, how these medicines are used. Sage, smudge, such as you see a lot of people have the shells. But you can use anything to smudge with, whether it's an old ashtray, an old pan, whether you mold one out of some aluminum foil. You can light this sage and you can smudge with it, okay? We smudge and preparation for ceremonies and or teachings. Probably would have smudged today, but some places they don't want us to. Some people don't like the smell of sage and so on and so forth, so I never push it unless they say, hey, it's okay to smudge, and then we'll come bring the smudge shell and we'll go around and smudge everybody. So just a kind of little cleansing, it cleans us, right? But it helps us it helps us in the releasing of things that are troubling the mind, and they also help us, they remove negative energy that might have, anger we have, we're upset about something, you know? This is really what we're supposed to be using these medicines for. Tobacco for our prayers, sage, of course, you can use for that little bit. And cleansing homes are your sacred items you might have. You can sage those down, it cleans them up, that smoke. You can use it as a tea for cleansing the body, the mind, and the spirit. Okay, so when we talk about that, you get a nice good handful of sage, maybe 2 handfuls, depending on how strong you want it. Put a gallon of water in a kettle, and you boil it up. Get a nice tea out of there. Once it cools off, you can strain it into a pitcher or a jug. And once it's done, you drink a cup a day till it's gone. it starts that cleansing process. We don't go and try to flush our bodies with it. We gently take that medicine and allow it to help cleanse us from the inside, and it cleans everything. That's why it's one of our first medicines, along with cedar and sweetgrass. So there's many ways. Again, there's also other teachings of that as well. So cedar comes in many forms. As you see, we had what we had like kind of over here to the, which would be your left-hand side. And we try to render it down a little bit smaller than that. And sometimes in the stores that we have, even the Native American gift shops and stuff, they'll have bundles of cedar, and that's fine too. It's nice and dry and it burns good. But cedar, it's used in ceremonies. It's used for teaching, just like sage. Of course, same thing, cleansing of homes. They're all almost the same things. There's many medicinal uses for all of these. As a tea for cleansing mind, body, spirit. Cedar baths are very healing. Sage baths are very healing. They cleanse us inside. Whether we take a bath, we can cleanse the outside too, you know. And we talk about a cedar bath. You go and you offer your tobacco, so you're going to take some cedar. So you take a paper bag like this, maybe fill it about this much with cedar. Go put that in a nice biggest kettle you got. Boil it up nice and strong till you see it turn green, maybe 30, 40 minutes. You can add that right in your bathtub, top it off with some hot water. When it's warm enough for you to get it and take a bath. Now you're bathing, you're cleaning, you're using it for what it was actually meant to be used, okay? All of our medicine plants have kind of an imposter, one that looks just like it but isn't it. And that's why it's important to learn the best you can about picking medicines, so you know you're picking the right one, you know. And sweetgrass is one of those. Has a plant, a grass plant that looks exactly like it, but don't have this one little thing to it, you know. And as you learn teachings, you'll learn those things. Often referred to as sacred hair of Mother Earth. When burned, the sweet smell reminds us of the kind of gentle love she has for the people. Okay, and, of course they all smell differently, and you can use it for use these as smudges for what you need them for. Maybe you feel sweetgrass helps you get rid of anger, but cedar smudge might help you get rid of some anxiety, and maybe sage smudge helps relieve maybe some things we're going through, some depression, whatever, you know. So you gotta use them to know. Of course, like everything else, it can also be made into a tea for bathing, to cleanse the mind, body, and spirit, and also for drinking. And I've had people use all three of them, sage, cedar, and sweetgrass, in equal amounts the best they can, and they make a gallon out of that and they drink that, you know. But you can go individually, you know, too, as if you want. So there are many, many ways to use these medicines in a good way that I wanted to talk about a little bit today. So as we review a little bit, we made some Kinnickkinic. For today, I have the 6 basic ingredients, but we actually have 7. Learn about how it's made, why it's important to us, and how to use it responsibly. And we learned about our 4 sacred medicines: tobacco, cedar, sage, and sweetgrass. Of course, there's many uses for each in prayer, smudging, cleansing, purification, etc. Cedar, sage, sweetgrass can be made into teas for cleansing the body, the mind, the spirit, and all are used for releasing negative energy. Are things that trouble the mind. That's what they're for, you know. So as we go through that, finally, just remember that native teachings are a way of life. Okay, once we start to learn things, we need to do our best to apply them. Just like I shared a little bit before, when some people come to me and want to learn how to offer tobacco, I'll put them on that little regimen. Start offering tobacco 2 days a week and then add a day. Because it starts to put that thought into motion, so it'll make you realize it takes that little bit of time, okay? So any teachings that you get, even in this way, you know, it's not a bad thing to offer tobacco in some kind of way, a little, say, miigwech for the teachings, even if it's an old person at a community event talking a little bit. Most importantly, if you really want to learn these native teachings, you offer your tobacco and you ask for them to bring those ones that can help you closer to you. So let's talk about my son Nick in Madison. So he calls, and we talk at least once a week. And last month he was ready to finish this semester and move to Phoenix. It's cold here and all this other stuff, and I think I'm gonna go to Phoenix. He has an uncle down there, and I think I'm gonna move to Phoenix. I said, well, why do you want to do that? You know, you're good. You're Madison. I mean, you're kind of took you a little while to get where you are with the job, 2 jobs you have, and going to school. You should just stay where you are. But why go start all brand new? So as a dad, I try to, and of course his mother too, try to tell him, well, maybe you should rethink that. And of course we didn't know anything. We're dumb, you know. So yeah, no, I'm still moving. So well, whatever, move. I don't care. And learn the hard way, you know, is what I told him. I said, but I think you ought to stay. And so he works in one of his jobs is in a bar. He helps keep the coolers stocked and does a lot of stuff there, cleaning and that. And so he was on his break having lunch, and he had called me because he goes, yeah, I was thinking about that, you know, that Arizona thing. He was kind of stuck on it, you know, and he said, so I was having lunch. I ordered some food from work, and I was sitting there watching some TV, and this all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this man shows up, a native guy, introduced himself. He was a ho-chunk. And he says he's from Wisconsin Rapids. I asked my son where he's from. He said, oh, I'm from Wisconsin Rapids. And then they start talking a little bit. And here, as they talked, and he ordered some food, and they just sat there and talked, you know, and through lunch there, and for a good probably hour and a half, he said. And they were just sharing, you know, and of course, as my son said, oh, this is my mom, because she's actually from Rapids, and this is who her mom was. And then as soon as he said that, oh, I know all your uncles, and I know all the Snowballs, and I know all the Houghtons, and I know all the Pigeons. I grew up with all those guys, and so there was a connection there. But the most important thing that happened in that conversation is Nick was telling me he was there going to school, and he's been there a couple of years, and he's kind of settled in, and he said, but I think I'm going to move to Arizona. And this guy turned around and told him essentially what I told him. No, you don't want to do that. Look at you got all this way already, working 2 jobs and going to school, and it's working good for you. You got 2 jobs that are working with you, so you kind of laid it out for him as to why. He says, if you want to take it easy a little bit, he goes, next semester, drop a couple classes. Take your time getting that education. Just because that says 4 years doesn't mean it can't take you 5.5 years to do it, because you need to work through it. Nobody's going to pay your bills. You're on your own now. We do our best as parents to help him. So because of his tobacco offerings, and that's exactly what he said. I was offering some tobacco for some guidance because I really wanted to move to Arizona. I want to know if that's the right move, and this guy talked him right out of it. It's gone now. I wanted to say, well, that's what I just told you. Told you the same thing, you know, but it came from this complete stranger, kind of, that knew his uncles and stuff. But he helped him, and at the same time, he said, here's my card. If you ever need anything, call me. I'll help you out, you know. And so now he has a good connection there that way. And so out of appreciation, my son said, well, you know what? I'm going to buy your lunch for helping me today. And thanks for taking the time to sit with me. So he knew right away to give back. So even if you weren't raised with those kind of things, like my wife and I did our best to raise our 3 guys with, doesn't mean you can't start now and then raise your kids with those kind of good values like that. You know, the guy was just like, oh, no, you don't have to do that. He goes, no, I want to give, you helped me out today, and this is how I want to, I guess, kind of pay you for that. I'm going to buy your lunch. I'm going to pay for it. Even though I'm a student, you know, and he knew, no, you're a student and you probably don't have much. And he goes, oh, you're fine. You know, I just got paid for my other job yesterday, so I'm going to do it. Just give me that, you know, you're not going to talk me out of it. And so that's how he paid back, okay? So know that there's always ways to give back. You should always give back some kind of way. Even if he didn't give back that day, he had his card. He said if he didn't want to let me pay for his lunch, I would have bought him something at some point, called him up, we could have met, and maybe I would have gave him a gift somehow, you know. And I said, well, heck yeah, if that wouldn't have happened, I said, I got things, I would have sent you some things just to give to him, you know. Say, hey, thanks, man, you helped my son out. Tell him the same thing I told him. Obviously, you're smarter than me. So, your dads and moms do know a little bit. Remember that. So anyway, so the information provided in this presentation is only a small portion of the many teachings that exist from tribe to tribe. So you need to, when you're ready or want to, seek out and consult the traditional people of your tribe, elders, spiritual leaders, medicine people for more information regarding the uses and or stories of these medicines that they might have for you. And everyone does. Everyone has older people that are just waiting for that young individual to bring them some tobacco. They have so much to share, you know, and they won't until that's done. Has to be done first. And even if they can't tell you everything, they might tell you something, like I said before, and they might say, now you need to take some tobacco over to this one. They have a little bit more about this other thing I was talking about, and they'll continue those teachings, you know. You always approach with respect, tobacco, and if you have it, a little gift. Doesn't have to be much, you know. Earrings, whatever, towel, anything's a gift, really. Your tobacco is a gift, and even as your teachings start, and you start to learn things, it's like, you know, you get some teachings, and after a while, you can, at some point, gift that person for that. You don't have to do it right that time. You got time to do it, to get it done, because our teachings never stop. Once we start, there's always something new to learn, some process to learn, or whatever. And so, and you always give a gift for whatever it is you're asking for to whoever's teaching you, even if it's a little bitty, something small that you made, whatever it might be. So that's the proper way to do things. So, as we finish this presentation here, I know everybody's real anxious to fill their pouch up with some of this and take some of this home, and you can show all your, mix it up good, because some of the sweet grass is settling on the bottom here. And so we're going to give you each the opportunity to gently take some of this home with you. And you can maybe share a little bit to some of your relatives your age, or even your parents, about what I talked about today. And I appreciate your time today. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to our younger people, and talk about some of the things that I know, and know that there's many things that you can learn still, that we still have. We have many traditional ways still. But you have to be the one, you have to want to do it. Nobody's going to come and take your hand and tell you, okay, it's time now, you know. No, it's not going to happen, you know. So you have to be the one to want to do it and to get there for those teachings. And even after you start learning teachings, I start telling you, I'm going to be over here at this time to do this. What they're telling you is do your best to get there. They want to carry on your willingness to learn, and they're going to provide you with a lot. My part of my talk today, first and foremost, I want to say miigwech to everyone. everyone help prepare. Everyone gets to take some of this Kinnickkinic home. I don't promote, especially to our youth, smoking it, but you can give it to a relative that could, or just use it for your offerings, okay? So, because we definitely, as the individual had asked at the end of my PowerPoint about smoking tobacco, and there's definitely it's something that older, adults and older adults do, but there's definitely reasons for that.